The Cocoanut Grove. The Cocoanut Grove was a supper club located in Boston, Massachusetts during the late 1920s through 1940s. During the early 1920s, nightclubs were banned due to the prohibition. Thus, the supper bar had fallen on hard times. Later on in 1942, the Cocoanut Grove had begun to regain its popularity, drawing hundreds, sometimes thousands, to the club. The building was a single-story structure with a basement beneath. The basement contained a bar called the Melody Lounge, along with the kitchen, freezers, and storage areas. The first floor contained a large dining room area and the ballroom with a bandstand, along with several bar areas separate from the ballroom. The dining room also had a retractable roof, used during warm weather to allow the view of the moon and the stars. The main entrance of the Cocoanut Grove was via a revolving door on the Piedmont side street of the building. On the evening of November 28, 1942, a fire ensued at the Cocoanut Grove, causing what has been called the deadliest nightclub fire in history, killing 492 people. One of the biggest problems with the club were the exits that were locked, or otherwise hidden from the public by false walls, or painted and draped for intended use by staff. The 1942 edition of the Building Exits Code prohibited revolving doors as exits in places of assembly, and requiring that those that use revolving doors to have swinging doors immediately adjacent or within 20 feet. According to a National Fire Protection Association synopsis of the Cocoanut Grove fire, all of the hazards at the club were addressed by the 1942 edition of the Building Exits Code. The main problems appear to have been the chaotic condition of Boston's building regulations and lax enforcement. The busboy. Initially, the ignition source was thought to have been the busboy, Stanley Thomas Whiskey, 16 years of age and questioning by the police, indicated that he had struck a match to see how to screw a light bulb in on one of the artificial palm trees in the Melody Lounge. Ceiling tile adhesive. Post-fire photographs showed that there had been ceiling tiles in the new Broadway Lounge. There was a history of the fixative for holding up ceiling tiles has been documented as a significant contributing factor of many various disastrous fires. In the past, when renovations were made, the old ceilings were just covered up by new ones, retaining the hazardous properties. Electrical wiring. Electrical work done in the Melody Lounge 3 years prior to the fire, and to the new Broadway Lounge in the 2 months prior to the fire, was done by an unlicensed electrician. He had performed electrical work in the Cocoanut Grove in October and November of 1942, installing electrical fixtures in the new Broadway Lounge. He had also said that there were no permit issues for the electrical contracting. Refrigerant gas. Initially, gases used in refrigerating units was discounted on the basis that those gases commonly used were not so flammable as to produce a flash fire such as what was observed. In recent years, there has been a growing interest in the theory of refrigerant gas and as a significant contributing factor with the fire. It has been confirmed that the methyl chloride, not Freon, was the gas used in the refrigerating units at the Cocoanut Grove. This reintroduced the possibility that the gas may have leaked out and was ignited. Capacity of 100 tables, 400 chairs, and 30 fixed stools. Entrances and exits at 17 Piedmont Street and 59 through 65 Broadway. The report stated no flammable decorations and concluded that the condition of the club was good. Only concern was the enforcement of liquor laws. A new building exits code had been approved by the NFPA in February of 1942, but the code had not been adopted by the city of Boston. In the new code are principles of safety that had they had been followed would have prevented many deaths. 1. Exits available in reasonable travel distance. 2. At least 2 ways out of remote from each other. 3. Exit paths marked, obstructed, well lighted. 4. Plan views of favorite types of emergency exits. 5. Evacuation drills well planned, frequently practiced. 492 deaths. Many patrons tried to exit via the main entrance, a single revolving door. However, bodies quickly piled up at the door, rendering it useless. Side doors had been bolted shut and plate glass windows had been boarded up. Other doors inward, making it difficult to open against the influx of people trying to escape. Flames quickly spread along the prom fronds, igniting other decorations and racing up the stairway to the club's main level. The fire response ultimately included 187 firefighters, 26 engine companies, 5 ladder companies, 3 rescue companies, and 1 water tower. Many states enacted laws for public establishments related to public safety. Flammable decorations and inward swinging exits doors were banned. Exit signs were required to be visible at all times. It was required that revolving doors used for egress be flanked by at least 1 normal, outward swinging door or retrofitted to permit the individual doors to fold flat to permit free-flowing traffic. From 1942 to present day, there has been a lapse of 70 plus years. Though the fire was long ago, there have been many lessons learned from that very incident. Improvements were made to ensure that the safety in places of public assembly are made more stringent. For an example, the automatic fire sprinkler. Regulations for visible emergency signs and doors require illuminated exit signage and outward swinging doors. Lastly, revolving door codes have been changed. Based on the occupancy load, revolving doors are required to collapse or provide conventional doors on either or both sides. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Cocoanut Grove.